You can change the complete trajectory of your financial future in 12 months. Yes, you can do it in 6 months. And I've seen some people talk about doing it in as little as 3 months. But I'm not talking about seeing improvements. I'm talking about making real, lasting changes that will have an impact for your life moving forward. The things that I'm going to be talking about in today's video may not be easy. You're going to have to make some decisions that are going to run counter to what you currently believe in and the direction that you're currently going. And that's completely fine. See, on this channel, we're all about solutions. If we have a goal in mind, we're going to do whatever it takes to get to that goal. And we're not going to make any excuses. So if you want to start seeing some progress towards your financial goals and you're ready to go 100% all in, then make sure you stick around for today's video, because we're going to be walking you through some of the things that I would be doing if I had to start at zero and I had to change my life over the next 12-month period. The very first thing that we have to do to make sure that we can put ourselves on the right trajectory is we have to stop the bleeding. We need to stop money coming out of our account every single month, especially the little ones that come from subscriptions. Subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu, Apple Music, Spotify, gym memberships. All of these things that are coming out of your account in little amounts every single month that you don't even really notice, but they make out a large number over a long period of time. You're gonna take a look at all the money that's coming out of your account from subscriptions, and you're gonna cut that by 50%, no matter what. So if you wanna keep that gym membership, and it costs you 50% of all of the little subscriptions and fees that you're paying out every single month, then you cut everything else. Apple Music, Spotify, Hulu, Netflix, all of that has to go. If you're able to work out at home or for much less, then maybe you change gyms or you work out at home, or you figure out an alternative way to actually get it in, just so you can make sure that you can cut 50% of those costs from your budget right away. Non-negotiable. So now you just cut 50% of those monthly reoccurring payments that come out of your account every single month. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go and you're gonna look in your driveway and you're gonna take a look at the car that you're driving. I just saw a stat the other day that said that the average car payment in the United States is over $700 a month, which on the surface is crazy, but it also really depends on what you have going on financially. If you're in debt and you're looking to change the trajectory of your financial life, then the last thing that you need right now is a car payment, especially if it's $700 a month. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to get rid of the car. I know you have to have a car, you have to have that specific car, and you don't want people that you know thinking that you're having financial issues or financial troubles, because perception is everything, right? So you're gonna keep the car, even though it's costing you $700 a month for the car payment, another $200 to $250 a month for your insurance. So there's $1,000 a month that's leaving your account, and you don't wanna get rid of it, all because someone that you know may think that you're having financial issues. So what? Who cares what anybody thinks, right? One thing that I learned a long time ago is, in order to move forward, sometimes you have to take steps sideways, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to take steps backwards. But remember, this is temporary. This is not something that you have to do for a lifetime. We're looking to do things that are going to propel us to actually get ourselves on track financially, and then we can start doing the things that we want. Once you start getting good with money and better with money, you can start to do all the things that you want to do. You're just more conscientious of what that's going to cost you and how that's going to impact your overall financial outlook. Now we've either downgraded our car or we've gotten rid of our car. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at our living situation. Now look, living expenses are gonna make up the majority of your expenses for the rest of your life. There's really no way to avoid that. But if your living expenses, your housing expenses, your mortgage, your rent is costing you half of what you bring home every single month, that's a problem, and it's preventing you from being able to take that step that you need to get ahead. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna start looking for an alternative place to live, whether that's moving back in with your parents or family, if that's an option. I know that some people are gonna cringe when they hear that, because how could I move back home when I've lived on my own for so many years? Again, this is temporary. Or you can get a roommate. I know a lot of us that are a little bit older, we don't want to live with roommates. And I get it. I don't think I could live with a roommate right now. But if I'm trying to actually get myself on track financially, I'm going to take a look at every available option, evaluate it, and see if it makes sense. And if I'm having financial issues, having a roommate may not be the worst thing that I could actually do to get myself on track. Again, it's temporary. So within the first 2 to 3 months of really trying to change our financial lives, we have cut out 50% of our monthly reoccurring subscription costs. We have either gotten rid of or downgraded our car, which allowed us to save much more money. We also evaluated our living situation. We either took on a roommate or we moved back in with family that would allow us to cut our living costs. Now we have extra money that was not there. And what we're gonna do with this money is we're gonna start to save our emergency fund. A lot of people talk about emergency funds, and depending on who you talk to, they're gonna tell you a different amount that you need to have saved up in your account. Right off the bat, I'm trying to save at least $5,000. That may not be my total emergency fund, but that's the amount that I need to save right now because that's gonna allow me to be able to deal with any issues that may come up. The last thing we want to happen is we've made all these life-changing decisions and then we have an issue and now we have to swipe credit cards in order to make sure we can weather that storm. The overall goal for me and that emergency fund is likely gonna be at least $10,000 over the course of a 12-month period, but $5,000 is the first milestone that I'm trying to hit. Now, once I get that amount into my emergency fund, I've got that tucked off to the side. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna invest it. I'm gonna completely leave it alone. Then I'm gonna start focusing on paying off any debts that I have. So you're gonna use the money that you were paying for your car payment, that you were paying for that overpriced apartment, that you were paying for all those subscriptions that you didn't think cost very much, but over the course of 6 months, probably cost you $500 or $600. You're gonna use that money to actually start to aggressively pay down debt. Yes, this is gonna be a little difficult because it's changing how you've been living up to this point. It's gonna feel a little awkward, but once you start seeing that debt number go down, you'll understand, yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. This is not something you have to do forever. You're doing this for 1 year. You're grinding out for 1 year because you know that after this year, your life is different. It changes. It's never gonna be the same again. And that's a good thing. Now that you're starting to pay down that debt and you're laser focused, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna focus on earning more income. I wanna make at least 25% more income over the next 12 months than I did the previous 12. Now I'm gonna lose a few of you right here, but just stay with me if you can. Making an additional 25% on top of what you made over the last year is not as difficult as some people make it out to seem. You're gonna find something that you're really good at, and that's gonna be your side hustle. Are you a good writer? Well, you can go on to places like Upwork and you can get freelance jobs being a writer for someone. Are you a project manager at your day job? Well, then if you are, you can go on sites like Upwork again, and you can find freelance project management work that will actually pay you money. I remember I was at a job, this was probably 5 to 8 years ago, and there was someone there that really liked taking pictures. They were actually really good at it, right? And they were able to parlay that into a side hustle to where they would go take pictures of sporting events, weddings, you name it. And they were able to make additional income from this. These are the things that you need to be thinking about whenever you're trying to increase your income. We all are really good at something. Now, you may not be able to charge the same amount as someone that can take photos or someone that can manage projects, but every little bit is gonna be helpful to your ultimate goal. And no, this is not your only option. Have you been at a job for 5 to 8 years and you feel a little stuck? Maybe it's time that you find another job where you're doing the same type of role that you're doing now, but oftentimes you'll make a lot more money if you leave your current company you've been at for 5+ years and you're a little stagnant and you go over to a different company. They're gonna pay you more money as an outside employee to come in. Maybe you change careers over the course of a 12-month period. This is a time to start thinking about how to increase your income. We put a lot of effort and energy in doing things like planning vacations, but we won't sit down and map out our career trajectory. It's not that hard. All right, now we're rolling. We've cut our expenses, we're making more money, and we're paying off debt faster than we ever thought was possible. Now, the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna finalize our emergency fund. Now, a lot of people think that you should have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in a high yield savings account as your emergency fund. You decide what works for you. I'm gonna probably put $10,000 in there. I'm gonna let that sit. I'm gonna let that ride. I'm not gonna touch it, regardless of what happens, unless I need it for a real emergency. And if that's the case, I'm going to use that money and then I'm going to replenish it back to 10,000 and I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm going to almost forget that it's there. And while all this is going on, we're also keeping an eye on our health. See, I'm 45 years old right now. And right now, that's the number one thing that's on my mind moving forward is how to stay healthy. Can I stay healthy? So when we talk about changing our financial lives over the next 12 months, we're going to also be changing the way that we operate from a health perspective because your health is your wealth. You don't want to be in your 50s and your 60s paying all kinds of money just to go to the doctor every single week because we're not healthy. Things that I laid out in today's video are not difficult. They're things that almost anyone can do. The problem is are we going to be ready to lock in and do this for the long term in order to make life-altering changes for the future? Just remember, the things that I talked about, going this hard, this is not forever. This is temporary. This is what we're going to do for a 12-month period until we can get ourselves out of debt and put ourselves in a position financially to where we're not operating out of desperation. We're starting to think about, how do I grow this? We're starting to think in abundance at this point, because when you get yourself out of survival mode, it changes the way you think. It changes the decisions that you make. It changes your whole outlook on life whenever you're not worried about how you're going to pay all these bills every single month. These bills are piling up. Things are going crazy and things can just never go right. Once you eliminate that part from your life, everything changes. I think the things that I laid out in this video are absolutely doable. I think they're things that we can put into place right away and get the ball rolling and start changing the course of our financial futures. But what do you guys think? The things that I laid out, what would be the toughest thing that you would have to do or change to make sure that you can put yourself on the right track financially?